Hi, everyone. A very warm welcome to this session of Let Us Talk It ZIPINAR. Our aim and our one goal to make an informed and empowered community. And we do this with our simple way of discussing, a simple way of telling each other what the community is doing as a whole. And how do we do that? We bring into this 1 hour for you. At least we tried the maximum with 3 speakers, and then they shared their experience, they shared their knowledge, and then we try to help others to know about certain areas that we might not be at all aware of. So welcome everyone to this session of our ZIPINAR. We are extremely excited for the speakers that we have today. Trust me, if you join with us and spend this 1 hour, then definitely you will be going back with something worthwhile. So this web ZIPINAR happens every Wednesday from 12 p.m. EST, US time, and 10:30 IST, Indian time. And we also try to empower our youth with our youth webinars, youth discussion, which happens every Friday, alternate Fridays and Saturdays. So if you want to know more about Let Us Talk It webinars and ZIPINARs, please do email us at webinar@letustalkit.com. And if you have anyone who you think would be interested to be a speaker or who would benefit from these discussions and these webinars, then please do let them know about it, share the word, and then we can all together build a better community. With that, we begin today's ZIPINAR. And today's first topic that we have is Cradling Leadership, to identify, protect, and nurture achievers of tomorrow. Leadership development is as vital as blood flow for organizational success, yet one of the weakest still amongst the current global workforce. So here we are going to learn how to cradle leadership. So I think in any organization or even in the household, when you are, taking care of the family, there also somehow leadership comes into action. So it's something that if you know about, there will be nothing that you will be missing out, or you can make a better tomorrow. And to speak on this, we have with us Jitanshu Chandel, and he is obviously a dynamic and power-packed motivational speaker, and he believes in the simple concept of empowerment. That's very close to our concept as well, as I said in our little earlier. And thus, he takes it to be a responsibility and shares his rich experiences with people, young and old, and motivates them to walk down the hard road and achieve all that they dream for. For him, sharing of knowledge and breaking barriers is the highest thing a man can do. So, but the best thing that I liked in his profile was his mantra, which is simple. When life raises a hand to stop you, give it a high five and move on. So without any further ado, thank you so much, Jitanshu, for taking out time and joining with us. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Julian. It was a pleasure to hear such good words about me. Generally, what happens is when people speak good about me, often I feel that people are like probably planning something. So anyways, it's always good to be in the audience. I'll just take these off. It's always good to be in an audience which is so rich, with such great minds sitting over here, and it's always a learning experience, and definitely it helps not just me as a speaker to communicate my thoughts with other people, but also grab a lot of information. So thank you so much for inviting me over to this ZIPINAR. So I'd like to begin with what I call as a topic. So cradling leadership. So off and on in the last 20 years, 25 years, leadership development, team management, formation of a lot of collaborations in office spaces or in personal lives. A lot of work has been done in this field. A lot of people are getting involved into this field. But gradually what I've understood is that it's more said than done. Probably because not many people are actually aware of what leadership actually means at the core. Or probably we've received a very narrow definition of leadership, where we generally forget that leadership is a very vast and a very broad-ended term. So today in this small talk, I would like to give my insights as to how organizations and people sitting in positions can actually cradle leadership. They can actually incubate leaders and convert them into achievers for the future. So for this, I would just like all of you to please focus on this particular slide that I have on the screen. Is it visible to everybody? Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Great. So this is all about creating leadership, and just a quick brief, this fat little guy that you are hearing right now, this is all about him. So I am the director of operations at Target Blues Training Solutions, and I'm a certified NLP trainer, leadership incubation and team building guide. And I'm a business coach and a communication skills expert. I can be linked on LinkedIn at this particular point. And I'm also a good writer. So I write on WordPress at jitanshu35.wordpress.com. So this is an observational analysis. I'm deliberately not displaying it as a full screen. I'm deliberately keeping it a small one. This is an observational analysis, and I've received this observational analysis from the Center for Creative Learning. The leadership gap. So as we said, today's leadership capacity is insufficient to meet future demands for 4 obvious reasons. What we require out of a leader is to inspire commitment, to lead employees, people basically, to plan strategically, and to adopt and also promote change. But unfortunately, these 4 most vital requirements of the future workforce are currently the most, I'll say, rare skills present in the current global workforce. So if we are demanding something to be in an employee in the next 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, and I do not have a roadmap to actually train them or teach them right now, then that, as I started my talk, it is more said than done. This is a general scenario. It has been taken out of a survey, and it is a survey done for the need of leadership as a core skill in the last 20 years. So in the last decade, let's assume it from 2000 to 2010, majorly organizations to streamline their leadership systems, they were hiring people from outside, people who have had good experience in the industries, probable advocates of leadership, probable administrators, all those people who had about 2 decades or 3 decades of core leadership experience. They were brought into the systems, streamlined the systems, and then they were allowed to exit. This thing continued up till 2010, 2011, and post the global slowdown, a clear transition in the requirements was observed. And HRs were looking out for employees who had leadership skills as one of the major competencies amongst them. Gradually, as we move into this decade until 2020, pre-COVID, now before COVID came in 2020, this was the scenario which was expected. So by 2022, companies were about to invest generally in core skills of HR only. So if you have like your technical skills or you have managerial skills, your administrative skills, having leadership as a primary skill was an expectation by 2020. But now, because of COVID-19, it is now preponed. Now it has to shift back about an year, about 1.5 years in advance. So you will be observing these changes right from the end of this year. So in 2021, what we were about to experience by 2022, it will be here. Now, the reason why I chose this entire topic was I get a call from a lot of my friends who have their own organizations, a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, a lot of friends who are in the business of any any skill, basically skills or manufacturing, and they have one general statement to make to me, and that is people generally do not sustain in their systems. They do not remain in their organizations. After a few years, they tend to start finding out other places. They tend to move. One reason which we've cited is financial requirements. Probably because of financial requirements, people find out better opportunities, they move out. But the number of exit interviews that I have attended along with all these entrepreneurs, all these HRs, one strong feedback that I've received from people is the lack of identification of their abilities as potential future leaders. All the employees that are moving out, majorly more than the financial requirement, are stating that there is a bottleneck and it is too narrow to tip down. Unfortunately, entrepreneurs are not broadening this bottleneck. They're limiting the expansion of their organizations. They're happy with the current leadership systems that they've had. They have been able to identify a few people who are containing that leadership and continuing with that. But gradually, it becomes a little too slow motioned. The dynamic world that we are living in requires a change on a daily basis. But when leadership saturates, it stops exploring for new leaders. And that is the point where we need to understand how we need to identify new leaders. How do we need to cradle them, incubate them, provide them the real environment, and not to let them go a waste. So for this, I have generally advised all entrepreneurs, business owners, administrators, HR managers to take it as one of their key responsibility areas to start identifying all those young middle-aged people who have the flair, who have the confidence to come out, to be able to take other people with them, to be able to bring them at the center of a thing and make them move. Cradling leadership begins as soon as you start identifying the basic skill of an employee, and that is his urge to come into office every day on time and feel the need that he is required in the organization at 9 o'clock, 9:30, whatever the starting time is. That urgency in him or in her to come into office to see that I can work, I can collaborate, I can contribute. From there, the bare minimum can start to identify all those people who have the urgency to come in and do and contribute. Now, that does not mean that you allow them to compromise on their personal lives. You cannot allow people to use this urgency as a tool to showcase that they're too involved in the organizational setup. You have to ensure that it is a genuine urgency. It is not an attempt to show what they are not. So that identification needs to be done. Once you've identified such people who have the urgency, they cannot sit still. You know, the best part of finding a leader is a leader can never sit still. He would be continuously beaming with energy. He would be moving about, collaborating with people, talking to people, sharing ideas, grasping ideas, trying to motivate other people, trying to give them a reason to believe in what they are thinking. He would be the one, she would be the one who would go to people, try and find out how well they can associate with one another. And these are the people who actually make the entire setup in an office worth working. I remember when I was hired on my first job as a university professor. I was young, not too mature, did not know the ins and outs of academics much. I had a senior, I had a professor who was of about 45 years of age at that time. This was about 10 years back. He was a very calm and a very confident personality, never used to be off his space, never interruptive, very calm, soft-spoken gentleman. But the one thing which I always observed in him, when he was in his class, he was identifying all those potential students who had the capability to work extraordinary. And he did not stop there. He would bring these students into the staff room, take them into his cabin, talk to them, motivate them, and then ask each one of them to bring another student the next day to work for the project that he had given them. That inspired me a lot to understand what exactly is he trying to do. He's trying to find out how these young minds can work, and then giving them a reason to be leaders and bring more with them. And as soon as these kids used to bring more people with them, more students with them, he used to walk out. He used to isolate himself and he used to move away. He would allow them the playground. He would allow them the space to do mistakes. He would allow them the space where they could experiment. And by the end of the semester, I saw 3 groups coming up with wonderful fuel efficiency based engines, a go-kart that competed in the Baja International Competition at Bangalore, and a student who came up with an idea of how to convert waste material to extract ethanol out of them to fuel future cars. All these 3 groups, the leaders of these 3 groups, are currently working in reputed organizations. The gentleman is still there, promoted to the position of vice principal of the organization. But he did not stop there. He continuously, every single year, every single semester, he's finding out more people, cradling them, giving them a secure environment where they can do what they wish to do, without the worry that they will be reprimanded for a mistake. He is there to protect them. He is there to safeguard them and to guide them further and not take away the share of success that they have. He's there as a parent. He's there as a guide, but he's also there as a protector. That is what cradling leadership is a requirement for the future now. What we are doing is in the glamour of too much business making, we are forgetting an elementary thing, that businesses run and operate out of human beings. Your employees are human. Your customers are human. Your clients are human. Your investors are human. Everybody is human, and humans work on emotion. And one of the strongest emotions that can be triggered in an individual for a positive outlook is the ability to be able to stand out and take other people with them and move ahead. To all entrepreneurs who are hearing me right now, I would like to convey a message to all of you. You've done a brilliant job. You are leaders amongst yourselves. You have taken the stand to step out. You've gone out. You've made an identity for yourself. But it's now time that you also identify all those people who can carry the legacy forward. We generally excuse ourselves saying that my role is to see that all the operations of the business work properly, and all this identification work is the responsibility of the HRs or the departmental heads or all these people. My work is to overlook operations and that everybody is getting the money at the end of the month. No. If you seem to think that your responsibility ends here, then it is again a bottleneck for you as well. The growth of your organization corely depends upon the growth of your employees, the people who work in and out, day in and day out for you. Their transition is something which is at the helm of things for you. So rather than cornering yourself from whatever is happening, as we say over in India, mujhe kya karna hai. Translating it into English, what have I got to do with it? My work is to oversee things. My work is to invest my money. The other things, they keep happening. These are petty matters. Why should I get involved? Some people take it onto their dignity. I am the entrepreneur. I am the business owner. I'm not supposed to get involved into day-to-day operational matters of my organization. But there is where you're failing. There is where you're making the grave mistake. Probably because of your cornering, somebody who would have been incubated, somebody who have been protected, would have come out with a brilliant idea and said to you, sir, do this. We would be able to do that. So the journey from this to that depends on how you create an environment where the person feels that I can reach that if I can take this to him. You'll have to be approachable. Sometimes you will have to curl up your cuffs. You will have to fold your trousers up and you will have to walk into the pond in order to catch the fish. Once you've done that, phase 2 of cradling begins. Nurturing. You are now giving them all the right ingredients to work with. So if you've done that, you've first identified the right people, you've started protecting them, now you've started nurturing them. And in the phase of nurturing, what you're doing is you're giving them the right set of tools, the right set of things that with which they can play around with. So when I say the core of leadership is initiative taking, recognizing the areas of change improvement, building a team and recognizing the skills of each, and most importantly, allocating resources judiciously. Giving an arrow to a swordsman is not going to win you the war. You will need to give a sword to a swordsman and a bow and arrow to an archer. If you do not allocate the resources judiciously and you do not recognize the skills of each and every individual of your organization, nurturing can never happen. You may recognize the areas of improvement, but before that, you need to first identify the core skills. So nurturing begins once you've identified the leadership scope in the candidate, then you need to identify what skills is he or she good at that can be put to use. And then you allocate the playground judiciously. And then you lead a team in an unbiased way. They are looking up to you. They are seeing you as a role model. They want to work for you. They want to work with you. You will have to be unbiased. You will have to be completely free of any reservations, thinking gender, age, color, race, anything. You'll have to put that aside. If all these things strike your mind even once while you're building a team, I am sorry, the entire effort of building a team is a failure. Unbiased attitude towards developing a team, recognizing these talents, and then going ahead with them. These are the things that you need to take. And the cycle is endless. People would get connected. Some might exit. To replace them, you will have to churn the cycle again. So it's an endless job. It's a tireless job. You'll have to keep coming in and day out, recognizing these people on a daily basis. And then finally, post nurturing them, you also need to give them opportunity. Thinking merely that I have incubated them, protected them, given them the right set of skills, I've given them the right sets of resources. Now it is their responsibility to work. No, they would be able to work only in limited capacities, only in the areas in which they can work. But if you require them to perform as per your understanding, you will have to give them an opportunity worthy of your understanding as well. Test them. Don't judge them. Test them on the parameters that yes, they are ready. They can now play. They will make mistakes. You might think that probably we spend a lot of time, 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, 2 years, incubating them, giving them the right set of skills. Again, they are not performing at parity. Does not matter. They might not be able to generate desired results in the current stage, but gradually, as you keep giving them more opportunities, they become sharper, intelligent, more wiser, and they will be able to judge the expectations and perform better. So these major skills have to be tapped by you. Now, you would also have to keep an eye on all those who are actually not doing the leadership thing properly. There are many who would be creating a facade in the organization, trying to show that they are great leaders, but actually they are talent killers. I'm very outspoken about it. I do not mince my words when it comes down to office politics. Grand talent is lost in organizations wherever there is politics breeding. You will have to identify these politicians. They might not be wearing those nice little suits on a daily basis and coming in and bringing grand speeches, not required. They might be eating into your organization. They might showcase themselves as to be one of the strongest people in your workforce who can do and deliver the work at time. But actually, when you turn your back against them and when they go into their own playground, people do not respect them. They do not want them. They do not want to work for them. They do not want to work with them. They might be excellent in their work, but if they are killing your talent, they are not worthy of being kept. Either formulate a policy to either make them work for the organization's benefit or weed them out. Does not matter how good they are. A good candidate would always replace him who would find it that he is not being pressurized under office politics. You turning your eye at the very moment kills every single opportunity that you can get out of these people for the growth of your organization. So please work on this front, identify all those people, get them on board, train them, incubate them, protect them, safeguard them. Understand, leadership is not always top to bottom. It can be generated from bottom to up. It's always about taking the right decisions. And it's always to keep the others before the self. So in order to create that kind of an environment in the organization, you'll have to stand out yourself. Most importantly, it's a magic. It works on the process of responsibility sharing and then attaining respect. It's all about individual to collective, and it is an effort to build a team. My last words to conclude my short speech on this particular topic is, ladies and gentlemen, leadership is not something that is supposed to be seen only in the glamorous light. We see our politicians, we see our sports personalities, we see our entertainers, we see our rock stars performing on stage. We assume them to be leaders. They are in their own spaces, they are in their own professions. But when you are working in your own environment, you may feel that the leaders, they are not living in too much of glamorous light, but what they are doing is they're creating the opportunity for others to enjoy that limelight. And no other skill, no other effort can be as worthy as this is. So on this note, thank you so much for being so patient and hearing me out. I would be open to any discussions, any questions that anybody has. It would be an honor to answer. Thank you so much from my side. Thank you, Julian. You please take it off from here.
Thank you so much, Jitanshu. Absolutely, I think spot on. You were on it, and you knew what you are talking about, and I cannot agree more. That's all I have to say. Srini, you want to add something?
Yeah, Jitanshu, I'm really surprised to hear all that from you, because it's so realistic on the ground, and then it was just explosive, and it addresses the latest and greatest, in terms of the concerns we have in many organizations, and whether it's corporates or other cultural organizations and all. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I think, definitely I'll request you one more session for, especially for, some organizations other than corporates as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
Pleasures, man.
Definitely loved your enthusiasm as well. Thank you, Jitanshu, from our team. And, we expect, as Srini said, to have you again soon. Thank you. And now when we have spoken about leadership, and we have learned from our very childhood, the first thing we Bengalis, we do hate khori, we say, the first writing in front of Goddess Saraswati. And then our parents have always said, get your handwriting straight. But after coming to US, having my kids, handwriting has just seem to vanish these days. But now I'm extremely glad that I could, be in touch with our speaker today, and who knows it, and who has come up with this topic, the importance of handwriting in the digital age. Handwriting is forever, even in the digital age. It had many advantages over the QWERTY keyboards. So we are going to by the maestro himself, and he is Professor K.C. Janardhan. And I need I would ask or hope that everybody listens to his achievements, because it's very different from what you hear every day. So please pay attention to his profile. And he is one of the finest living examples of Cicero's quote, "Natural ability without education has more often raised a man to glory and virtue than education without natural ability." He is the only Indian to be allowed to write his own passport in 1993, his daughter's birth certificate in 1998, and father's death certificate in 2001. He is the only Indian to teach power handwriting to British at various county schools and universities in 2001. He co-authored the first ever book on handwriting in Asia Pacific region in 1992. He has calligraphed over 85,000 plus certificates, citations, and for his clients all over the world, he has had very unique experiences. Yes, it's unique indeed, across the globe, getting tickets in various modes of transports when it was very difficult, visas to other countries in a jiffy, conducted seminars on handwriting, lettering, calligraphy at 33,000 feet above sea level, in a plane, on road, in a bus, and on tracks in a train, has been offered extraordinary permanent visas and citizenships in other countries as well. He has established J's Laquille, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, the first ever museum of handwriting, lettering, calligraphy, and writing instruments in the world, housing 7 different elements. Inaugurated by H.E. Lorenzo Angeloni, the Italian ambassador to India in 2016. He has been widely featured in local, national, and international media regularly and has been awarded and recognized many times by various bodies and institutions, including the government. He is a live demonstration of the quote, "First impression makes the best impression, and the last impression should leave a lasting impression," with his personally autographed visiting cards, which have become a collector's item. Today, the community of handwriting and calligraphy enthusiasts, as well as connoisseurs of fountain pen fraternity, revere him as a living legend. His list of achievements and accomplishments with experiences extraordinaire goes on and on. But I need to stop here due to paucity of time. To know more about the maestro, you can visit www.jsquill.com. And now enjoy the masterclass on handwriting and calligraphy. Over to you, Professor Janardhan.
Wow, his introduction is like a session itself.
For all those. I'm sorry it went on too long.
No. Nice
thank
to,
you, Jilan, and thank you,
inspiration.
organizers. Nice to meet all of you on this platform. And it's always been my passion to talk about this subject. And as a professor who taught management for more than 25 years and corrected answer scripts, the first thing that would hit me is the handwriting, which is indecipherable. And, I had a lot of professors all over the globe asking me, how do I correct answer scripts? And I could also make it a little more interactive if you want more questions to be asked, because many people think handwriting is a subject what's there to talk about it? It's just there, copy the ABCDs and it's all done with it. But then it's a very in-depth subject and we can go into greater details. And I've also learned how to share my screen. I would just start my presentation by showing a few slides and then leading you on to more discussions. I hope it has begun.
Perfect.
Are you able to see the slides?
Yes.
Yes. So this is Connoisseur's Quill and Golden Hand that I started about 30 years ago. And that's my own writing in a font known as Old English, my own hand and quill. And the quill is the greatest writing instrument that I have ever come across. Now, I found 7 elements of handwriting, and most of the people are actually confused with what is handwriting, and somebody calls it calligraphy, somebody says lettering, and somebody says, oh, show me your handwriting and I'll tell you a character. Oh, you're a calligrapher. Oh, you will tell me my character. Then somebody says he's a choreographer. So a lot of confusions are there, and I found there are 7 of them, and I would clarify that briefly in this session. What are these 7 elements? The basic handwriting is something that all of us learned when we went to school. And it's one of the basic communication tools that we have used for many, many years. And if one's handwriting is good, there are people with certain artistic abilities who would move into the next level called as lettering. And today, 99% of the world follows lettering, and as a misnomer, they call it calligraphy. Lettering is writing in different styles, producing different styles of letters and in different languages. And there is also a science to it called as typography, which will talk about the line and space relationship, the proportions, and various other nuances to make it look beautiful. When you add a spiritual dimension to lettering, which can be done only after a lot of experience in life and maturity, you could move into the highest level called as calligraphy with a spiritual dimension. Now that's the first vertical, which is progressive and complementary. Then comes the next central vertical, which at times can be really controversial and contradicting, which is called as graphology, which is also used in some of the HR practices to try and select people. Now, a person's character can be found out from their handwriting. which is about 60 to 70% an indicator, as I have understood. It can't be taken as 100% true. And there were graphologists who studied a lot of different kinds of handwriting and said this should be your character. For example, if you give a person a white sheet of paper and ask them to write, and if they cover the whole sheet from top to bottom, and you would call them a miser. But then, English language is so beautiful that you will say, you make the optimum utilization of the available resource, and everybody would say, yes, you're right. So it's how to make certain things sound positive that people have perfected in all these kinds of ologies. And there was a breakaway group which brought in graphonomy and said, we are like the astronomers, we are not like the astrologers, we can be even more accurate. But all said and done, there are limitations. And there's another group which came up saying, we do a lot of graphotherapy. We will change your handwriting and change your future. Now, some people have been going overboard and saying that we can cure your medical illnesses, we can make you rich. I'm yet to find people who have done that with proof. And a lot of gullible people have fallen prey to it. That's my research work and understanding from where I found it. It's a belief system somebody's trying to plant into you. The last one is a very interesting area, which is very scientific. It is called as a question document examination, where we detect forgery. Now, the central vertical that you have seen is more of a emotional analysis that is done. And the last vertical, which I call it as question document examination, is more of a rational analysis and accepted in the court of law. Well, this is it. This is my writing, which is done with an italic tip. And I believe that italic is the best form of writing to learn how to write well as to go from there to the other areas, because it gives us a lot of basics which we can perfect. Now, all of us in this world have been complaining about bad writing. How many of you seem to have got a complaint from your teacher, or how many of you have heard your children come back home and say the teacher says improve your handwriting? And all that came from this copper plate in the 16th century in England, which later, if you see the main slide, you see copper plate in the center. To the right side, you will see copper plate written without the thick and thin lines, and that's called as cursive. And in America, it's also got variants known as Palmer, Spencerian, Zenarian, and then we have got a lot of variants. And this particular style leads into a lot of problems. So when you try to write faster than the normal speed, your cursive gets into problems like this. I hope you're able to see that. My clear looks like my dear looks like my clear. And aluminium and humor and rumor and running, everything looks very different and it can be misread. So are you writing to be read or writing to be misread is a question. And I think I wanted to go back and talk about handwriting is forever, because when you write by hand, your memory improves, your vocabulary improves, and your cognitive skills are improved. In the last 1 year in India, where I think even in US and other parts of the world, where we've had this online classes going on, there's a big worry now with a lot of school principals and headmasters, where the children come back, or the students even in their 10th grade or the pre-university come back. How are they going to cope up with the handwriting? And the teachers are not ready to teach them in the higher classes. It's only meant for the primary school teacher, they say. But the most unfortunate thing is this whole subject of handwriting has not been dealt with properly. And for the last 150 plus years, people have been suffering with this cursive style of writing, where you have a lot of malformations that are happening. And why I say handwriting is forever is, even in the digital age, you find that the cell phones or the mobile phones have got a stylus to write with. The latest iPad 9 of Apple has got an electronic pen. Now, 30 years ago, I said that the act of writing will remain forever. It will not go out of fashion. And it has remained even on the electronic medium. If we go back in history, we find people are scratching in the walls of Sumeria, modern part of Iraq. to the various civilizations, the Mesopotamian civilization, where they were writing on clay tablets with the bamboo reeds in the cuneiform, to the Maya and Inca or Indus Valley civilization. Go all across the globe, you will find people were using writing for communication. And then came the papyrus and the quill, and then the steel nibs, and then the fountain pens. The fountain pen is one of the most beautiful writing instruments to have ever invented in this world. And so today, even on the electronic medium, we are still writing. And the University of California has also found that in US, when they stopped writing many years ago in schools, they found that the cognitive skills diminished in children. There is a generation where they cannot, remember properly. You ask them to write 2 pages and they say, what is this kind of a punishment? It's an imposition. And the vocabulary was lost out. The power of expression was getting lost out. And that's why I say that handwriting is forever. I'll show you some slides of how cursive writing led to problems. This slide of a student of mine from 95. On the left-hand side, you will see the kind of writing he had. And later, when we teach how to build letters, build them part by part. That's why I stopped calling it handwriting programs. We call it alphabet architecture, alphabet engineering programs. We engineer the letters with the various strokes, and then we bring them together. You can see one more sample. This is Prasad again, how he used to write. He was a 27-year-old man when he came to me in 97. And in 98, what happened to his writing, how it was improved. It calls for a lot of concentration and eye-and-hand coordination, and you need to practice it every day, regularly, until you get to the best levels. Well, what are the benefits of handwriting in the digital age? Now, I think all of you would also be familiar with various malware attacks that are happening. And you also find that there are a lot of security issues and privacy issues. And some time ago, when I read about the malware which attacked various hospitals in UK, WannaCry, and sometimes there was also a breach of the security in US, I very well remember that the security chief, and I think Pentagon or one of those organizations were asked, what do you do to be more secure in the future? He said, put pen to paper. And that was really wonderful. So how does it help you? In most parts of the world, we still write our examinations, so it can get you better marks. And as I said, the first impression should be creating the best impression, and the last impression should be leaving a lasting impression. And in this world of competition, you don't get a second chance to make a fresh impression. And you can impress anyone, any age, at any place, and any time with your powerful, beautiful handwriting, which the digital world is not able to do. I'm not against digital world. We can, coexist. The digital world is for mass storage of information and dissemination of information, but then your security and privacy is being compromised. One of the recent BBC reports that I read said that by 2039, a lot of people in this world would be leaving the digital platforms because they don't want their footprints to be tracked, and they would go back to writing by hand and delivering by hand. So that is something very encouraging. And when you look at handwriting versus typewriting or the keyboards and smartphones, people have been writing for thousands of years. But today you find a lot of detrimental effects like the repetitive strain injury, finger arthritis, carpal tunnel syndrome, degeneration of digits for overusage of the cell phones, your thumbs. Your thumbs are going to become useless, shoulder, neck, and spine injuries. And as I said, cognitive skills, memory, and vocabulary are being badly affected. So handwriting is coming back strongly. The best news I have for you is a lot of IT professionals, doctors, and others have been taking up to this dip and write copper plate writing. As you see over here, you find a dip and write nib, and then the style of writing on top, left and right, is copper plate and variations of that, and how some people have been writing their cursive writing. Then this is my example of copper plate for you. And then there are various writing instruments, and it can be made with various different kinds of elements and material. And people are enjoying this because it is a stress buster. And in the pandemic, I find a lot more people buying this. In the recent times, you could always go to the net and get them, not like 30 years ago where we had to physically go in search of them. Today, you can order them on Amazon or one of those platforms and you can get it home. And many people have been saying it's a stress buster and it's giving us a lot of satisfaction to write, and our expressions are becoming more profound. And then you can go to lettering. These are all samples of hand lettering. And these are some certificates that I had written in the past for various corporates of mine who were my clients, over 220 of them across the globe. This is written in the Old English style. And we have the copperplate style. Then poetry. We also write customized poetry, and a lot of love letters are also written. I think it has to be hand done to be really passionate, not electronically. If you differ, I'm sorry. And this is another piece done with copperplate and cursive writing for Winston Churchill, which is it's displayed in the Bangalore Club in Bangalore. And a few more examples of swashed italics. And there are certain decorative letters called cradles and many more, but it's a little more difficult to identify them, but it's very, very ornate. And the uses are very many. You could be writing on a shopping list, to a greeting card, to a telephone directory, a lot of them. Now, wedding cards, addresses on wedding cards. Now, these are some of the wedding cards there and the addresses. And you could write letters like this. That's my favorite quill that I used to write, to dip and write. It gives you a lot of patience, concentration, and a lot of pleasure when you complete the whole writing. This is again swashed italics and lettering. This is again italics. And let me say, I'm going to tell you what is the definition of handwriting. It's a visual expression of speech and the means by which we deliberately set down messages we want to communicate. So it has to be good. So everybody says, I need to have a good handwriting. You need to have a good handwriting. And then what is good handwriting? Really define it. A good handwriting is legible and uniform in size. Each letter is properly formed with proportionate height and width and spaced properly between words and lines. Now look at that writing. Does it have the uniform size, proper baseline? Does it have proper spacing in between? And does it have the proportionate height and width? And is there readability? A good handwriting is not enough. I tell people, move to powerful handwriting. This is the book that I wrote in '92, and it's out of print now. And I'm now writing almost 23 titles, of which 16 of them are on handwriting. It's about handwriting is forever, as I had given the title, and the management of handwriting at home for parents, and management of handwriting at schools for teachers, because they should know about the child development, the process the child goes through, the neuromuscular activity, and how to give them the right kind of dexterity exercises and what kind of instruments that they could use, and then graduate them slowly from crayons to pencils, and then to the pen, and then to the various other kinds of pens when they want to go into lettering. All right, so this is my card. I always leave a signature card as I was introduced, and I would like to stop here and then open it up for questions. If you have any questions, you're most welcome. It's a very vast topic, and each and every element that I spoke about in the beginning could run to almost 3 hours to 6 hours of discussion. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And let me end by saying one or two quotes. Handwriting is the dance of the pen on paper, said Alfred Fairbanks. And to me, I feel handwriting is the golden key to unlock most of the stubborn doors in your life. And it presents your information with the maximum impact on the reader's mind. So you could impress anyone, anytime, any age, any place with powerful handwriting. And that will make you stand apart from the crowd. Would you like to be just a face in the crowd or a force to be reckoned with? And your handwriting would do that for you. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. And I would be too glad to answer the questions that you have.
Absolutely wonderful presentation. And like Professor Janardhan couldn't agree more. But I have one question before anybody asks anything, is that why is that when being a doctor is such it's held in very high esteem in at least in India. And then the doctors can get away with extremely challenging handwriting and challenging for the patient and everybody else around. The pharmacist can only read. So why is it that, if you have a bad handwriting, you are somehow destined to be a doctor? Why is that?
Wonderful question, Julian. I have been asked this right from America to New Zealand. First of all, let me clarify that please don't find fault with the doctors. It seems like every culture has a saying, that if you have a bad handwriting, you've already pre-qualified yourself to become a doctor. I mean, every language has that. They say that if you have a bad handwriting, you're fit to be a doctor. And let me give you a little bit of my background. I come from a family of doctors, and they also ran a pharmacy for 3 months. I know what it is to be on the other side to receive the prescriptions. Actually, when you get into a medical school, you tend to write a lot more. And then during the house surgency or internship that they go through, they see a lot of patients and they have very little time. But then the culprit is not the medical school. It's the schools that we have been to and the way in which they have taught us how to write. Now, you and I also went to a school. And if we write badly, nothing happens to anybody else. But when a doctor writes badly, somebody could kick the bucket. And somebody could die because they have been given the wrong medicine, right? That's the reason why people take a dig at doctors. But then let me humbly request every one of you, please don't blame the doctor. It's the system that failed. It's not the doctor who's failing with the handwriting.
That's a very polite way of dealing it with, but hopefully that the handwriting begins same for everyone. Yes, anybody, any question?
Yes, I know some doctors who write beautifully. Now, I must tell you, Julian, that I know a lot of doctors who write beautifully. And then I have had something interesting from them. I asked them, what happens when you write beautifully, doctor, and what happens to your patients? And they said, we have two kinds of reactions. One is, some of them ask them, doctor, if you don't mind, are you really a doctor? Because we don't expect you to write beautifully if you're a doctor. So there's a element of doubt if you write beautifully, being a doctor. And the second set of patients would say, I believe, thank you very much, doctor. We know what we are taking, and we are very sure that we are having the right medicine.
Yes. So any other question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Professor, actually. It's definitely, I think, as far as relaxation, I think, as one of the members here, put their comments, that is so true. Expressing,
yes.
Yeah, writing for ourselves, clearing our, it clears our mind when we put our thoughts and worries to paper. Yeah, very well said, Srilata, on that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, still now, since we were so much used to writing, still now, if at least personally, if I'm stressed out, I want to write it down. And if I tell my daughter to do that, to do journaling or to do something with writing, I can type it. I mean, or reaction, I can type it. So I don't know how. You don't feel like writing. I'm getting her the pen, whatever she likes, but somehow that thing doesn't, unless the school really.
I'll come to it. It's because people have started youngsters writing very early in life. If you have started a child to, or if you have introduced the child to writing practice before they're biologically ready, that is today in schools, where they call it a play home or whatever name they call it, they start writing at the age of 2.5, when your fine motor skills have not been developed. And that creates an aversion in the young child. Now, that is the first deterrent. If you start formal writing by 5.5, when the nerves and muscles are well developed, then they can hold the pencil properly and they can start writing and enjoying it. There was a research done many years ago in England and in a region where you have the European countries border, like the Italian and Swiss and all of them over there, the German and all that, we found that, when a set of students less than 5 years were taken and you introduced them to handwriting and you watch them over a period of 10 years, you found that a lot of people came up with trouble and problems. But then those who started after 5.5 years has settled down beautifully and started writing very well. So it's actually the age of introduction that plays a vital role with the children. And today the various gadgets are a distraction for them, and then they don't want to write. And I have interviewed a lot of journalists and I've asked them, what has been the reaction of your readers when you wrote your stories by hand and when you typed it? You would be very surprised to know that most of them said when we wrote our stories by hand, the readers felt the punch in it, they felt the emotion in it. They were so close to the story that they were reading. It was almost like living the story. But when we typed it out, it was like, every part of the keyboard felt like a flat tap and there was no emotion. And it didn't have that kind of a, relationship with the reader. It all went flat and our expressions also fell flat, they said. You have to unmute. You're muted, I think. We couldn't hear you.
Yeah, fair enough. I would say that's a good because kids are going to school and starting even they're almost before they are just born. They can parents are trying to do that, so that can be an issue. But thank you, Professor Janardhan, so much, being so candid.
You're welcome.
Sharing your knowledge, and definitely we'll be having you back later in the year. But thank you so much for your time. Okay,
thank you.
Yes.
Can I just share a small experience of mine?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please.
Yeah, Professor. Basically, I was listening to the conversations, and I was listening to your presentation. I was watching it. It was really wonderful. Myself, growing up, Dad was a professor too in IIT. So basically, he used to suggest me that when I was picking up third language called Sanskrit in my in my country, like in India, at that time. Sanskrit was a total new language which I had to pick up from scratch. So it was very, very difficult to read and just understand. So he suggested, why don't you write? And it's a new language that none of us are familiar with. So why don't you write? So instead of reading 5 times, if I wrote once, I used to grasp it very fast. So that was one of a good experience by writing, which I gained, and that's what I try to tell my daughter and son, my kids too. And she being born and brought up in US, she tried to pick up our mother tongue Telugu, and she also practiced the same thing and eventually won international spelling bee. She used to write 500 words a day. So I really adore that, and I truly respect writing. So just wanted to share my personal little bit.
Wonderful, Madhavi. Wonderful to listen to that. And it's right that when you write, you grasp better because there's a visual input as well as if you're, also vocalizing it as an auditory reinforcement, and your memory becomes better when you write. Even new languages you pick up faster.
Yes, Professor. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and making us feel even worse that we could not make write 500 words again.
No. I was just trying to say writing really helps pick up anything.
Yeah, you should with my kids as well. So that's the point. But thank you so much. Any other question, or else just we are running out of time. Otherwise, I could go on with this discussion even further. Okay, there is one question in the chat. Janardhan sir, how do you recommend faster at writing things like essays for assignments. Oh my God, he needs
Okay. Gautam Rangappa, again, this question is very good because when somebody says fast, I would like to ask this question to all the viewers. What do you think is fast writing? Can you define? And when you want to go from point A to point B, you say, I travel at so many miles per hour or kilometers per hour. What do you think is the speed of writing for a human being? So this has been, everybody says you must write fast, you must write faster, and in examinations, you need to really write fast, but nobody has defined what's the speed. Can I hear from you? What is the speed for a human being? Then I'll give you the answers and the tips. Yes, please.
Janardhan,
You must also be writing, isn't it? Yes.
Yes. This is Nagendra. Suppose
Yes,
the
Nagendra.
writing speed, in the sense, I would like to calculate in a way, if I have an
Yes.
exam to be completed within 2 hours by writing,
Yes.
and if I can finish all the answers for the questions within the 2 hours, I feel like I'm
Yes.
fast. If I have any questions left where I cannot give an answer, then I'm not up to the speed.
Okay. Now, again, Nagendra, don't read me wrong. I have got these kind of answers which are not specific. Because in a 3-hour examination, you write for 2.5 hours. And I will tell you, a grown-up human being can write at a speed of 18 to 23 words with clarity and readability. Now, that is the speed at which you can write. And if you practice to do that, that's enough. Today, people are expecting you to write at 30 words a minute, which is like lowercase typewriting speed. That's where your HM and UVWs become like waves, and then readability is gone. So try to write at 18 to 23 words. And even if you write 20 words as an average, in about 2.5 hours, how many minutes is that? About 150 minutes. If you're able to write at 20 words, in 3,000 words, you should be able to convey what you want to in your examination, however the question paper is set. And today, I'm just going to go a little bit off handwriting and say Prezi writing is also missed out. Today, people write, Ramayanas and Mahabharatas as an answer, which is very difficult to read and evaluate. It's better to write to the point, right? And maintain this 18 to 23 words bandwidth, and you will be able to write long essays and assignments very easily.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Okay, Gautam says, thank you for the answer. Thank you, Gautam, for the question as well. Okay, so now moving, thank you, Professor Janardhan, once more for your time and staying awake this late. As proper and gentleman you are, and you sleep at 9 p.m. sharp, staying this long for Let Us Talk, it is absolutely an honor. Thank you.
The pleasure is mine. I enjoyed every bit.
Thank you. Ashish, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I'm there, yes.
Yes, sorry about a little, we went overboard, but we have our guest speaker, our third topic for the day. And the topic is transportation management, SAP Transportation Management for manufacturing. And we have to give that topic to talk about it, we have Ashish. And Ashish has been managing multiple projects, resources using Zoho application, all modules. He has been meeting clients, external consultants, understanding their requirements and aligning, resolving for smooth execution and delivery. So he has been with a lot of technical work, so I'll not go into details, but what he's passionate about is, of course, technology, but the trends like Internet of Things, mobility, cloud integration, analytics, blockchain expertise, IoT expertise, and all those who are from the IT world and who thought that you got lost in some medieval golden age rather, you are back on track with a new trend, new technical topic. So yeah, over to you, Ashish. Absolute honor to have you.
Yeah, thanks for the quick update. Also, very nice, interesting topics. Just we heard on these. I mean, the first one on the HR. I mean, the change, and this one on the writing part. Like so, mine is a totally different but practical kind of topic. Like on supply chain. The topic is vast. It has logistics, it has purchasing, storage, or inventories, and dispatches. Multiple functions are there, and within this, one of it is within logistics, which is transportation management. So it is more in context with the third party logistics or service providers. And in manufacturing, if you are having a setup of multiple plants, then for the inbound and outbound logistics, where we try to save on the logistics cost, and you companies like I mean big companies looking for a real time visibility, there we try to actually
Just one second, Ashish. Will you be
help
sharing your
yeah.
screen by any chance? Will you be sharing
Yeah,
any?
so I'm coming to that. So just setting up the context first. So I will just okay, I'll just put on the first slide. Okay, 1 minute. So is it are you able to see this first slide? Supply
Yes.
chain
Supply.
transportation management.
That's
Yeah, okay.
good.
So just was setting up the context. Like, so this is how, I mean, from the high level supply chain or a robust topic, from there within the function where purchasing is there, where manufacturing is there, and after that the dispatches or the dispatching of the finished goods, there transportation plays a major role, where you have big service providers, then your CFO and the dispatch guy is always struggling to get the real time visibility of your vehicles, inbound, outbound, as well as the logistics cost, where they are trying to capture the fuel cost, the freight, also the overheads like labor, loading, unloading, all these. I mean, all at a micro level, you will get a visibility through transportation management. SAP has embedded transportation management, as well as a separate box you can keep, or a server you can keep, and it can be integrated to the main system. Like, so this is how at a high level I'm going to discuss or update on supply chain, within which transportation management uh, is a topic which I have selected. So just going ahead on to the, so these are the four basic or the subtopics. Like, what is the purpose of this kind of transportation? A little bit I had updated earlier. Then a solution overview at a high level, and how is the structure within any kind of SAP setup like, and how it helps the organization to actually get onto a simple transportation management or a transport visibility, like, and how the configuration highlights, or the basic steps in configuration. These will be at a screen level, which I will not be going into much detail, but at least at a high level I can show you a few basic screens of SAP transportation management. Like, so the purpose, I mean, so major integration or the transport management starts with your orders. So when you are in inbound side, when you are procuring, so you procure the raw materials and other semi finished goods or bought out items. So these are through the purchase orders or stock transfer orders, which are integrated through a order based request of transportation management. And if you are on the sales, or you are on the shipping of the sales or the finished goods, you have sales orders, or you have the outbound deliveries, which are integrated with the transportation management kind of setup. Like, so within SAP, like, so these are the high level transportation requests or basic requests, which are converted from the different orders, like sales orders, purchase orders, stock transfer orders. And from this you get transportation requests generated automatically, or you can also create manually. And then you can actually ship your goods or procure the components or goods from different suppliers. Like, so is it feasible? I mean, all of you are able to get on to the topic, like, I mean, this transportation management supply chain. Is it audible? You are all able to hear this? Hello?
Yes, yes, it
Yes.
is.
So I'm going to a high level solution. How do we go about for if any you are going to any business? Let us say there is a setup where there are huge warehouses, then there are multiple distribution centers, plants are there. So you need to actually provide a good template or a questionnaire where you try to capture the volume of the transactions, volume of the shipments, as well as the inbound outbound deliveries, so which can help you to structure your or get to a solution for the client. Like, so how do you analyze basic transportation? So either it can be a order based transportation request or the requirement, or it can be a delivery based transportation requirement. So these are the two ways in which you can actually implement or utilize SAP for any kind of business. Like, then at a high level, if you see, you have transportation planning at the center. So you have a transportation optimizer or planner which helps you to optimize your transportation. So the logic here is you have a ERP logistics integration. So you can say SAP ECC or HANA database is there, and then you have a forwarding order management. You have a transportation charge, which is a freight calculation or a rate is defined, and then you have a forwarding settlement with a freight settlement on other side. Like, so either you go with the order based or you go with the freight order management. Like, so first is you get a request. You can be a, let us say, dispatcher. Then you raise a request. It goes through the SAP transportation planning module, and then from there you have a freight order management, which has a further integration with your rate or a charge management, and then there is a settlement of this freight, and then you actually get a invoice update or a freight settlement at your accounts through a internal integration or configuration. Like, so this is a high level ERP integration or a logistics integration. Detail this is there, I mean overview is there. For example, what I'm explaining is this part now, freight order and settlement part. So it can be a ERP order coming from, let us say, sale order. You have created a sale order in SAP, and then from there you are getting a order based transportation request. You are creating this, so you can automate this through some settings, or you can create manually, or you can have a ERP delivery from the delivery based request or a requirement you can generate, and then you convert it to a transportation order. Like, so this is a screen. Like, I mean, this is how nowadays all is web based. HANA helps you to have tiles or use web based uh, clicking of the relevant screens or transactions you want to get onto. So this is at a high level overview of transportation requirements, freight orders, requirements, freight, which are finalized, not finalized, then creating deliveries. Then either you have order based or a delivery based ERP. So mostly sale orders, purchase orders, and stock transfer orders are actually converted into transportation requests. So it's a high level, a good slide. Like, I mean, if you, as discussed earlier, I mean, all these orders are being processed or converted to transportation request. And from there you create a freight unit. A freight unit is like you have, it can be in kilometers, it can be in different way of, it can be a number of trips also. It can be a number of goods, how many you are loading onto the truck, or how many pallets you are loading. Then depending on that, you define the freight unit, and then you do a planning, as discussed earlier, the transportation optimizer. From there you create a freight order, and from there you do a settlement. Like, so that is how a basic high level transportation management process is there. So this is how actually, I mean, so as discussed earlier, basic things are the OTR type, or the, I mean, the transport request type, how it is condition. So this is more technical. We need not get into all this. I mean, I can get into a further detail as if we go ahead on these different details. So the logic is you have to have a shipper, the pick, pack, and shipping kind of concept, and then loading, unloading, and then what kind of mode of transport is there, what kind of vehicle is there, and what kind of dispatch you are doing, either by road, by sea, or by air, and then whether these are captured into your transport requests is the logic here used by SAP. So again, a screen where you define different activation of documents, purchase orders, and the control keys defined over here. So this is one thing. There is an end-to-end scenario. 1 minute, I'll just share the screen. Hold on. So at a high level, so there is a consigner and consignee kind of concept over here. It can be a one-to-one, I mean, door to location transfer, or it can be a multi-stop truckload planning. So you have Ola Uber kind of logistics also, or you can, I mean, bring at a real time, you can bring into our transportation management. So any vehicle dispatching your plant, and from that plant, your goods are going to a warehouse, and from that warehouse to another plant. That also you can configure here into the system, and you can call it as a multi-stop truckload planning through our SAP TM, and you can get a real-time visibility of your goods movement from your plant one to plant two. In between, if there is a DC, you can say DC1. So all these visibilities, or the real-time visibility, you can get for your goods and for the vehicle you are using. Like, so for example, you can use these basic parameters like characteristics like sales area, plant, shipping point. You can have existing or a new sale order type, a purchasing organization, and company code. This is more technical from the SAP. Those who are in SAP or aware of, they can actually understand at micro level. Like, so what kind of products you are shipping, which is the carrier you are using, which customer is being mapped, or you or being for which customer you are using to do the complete that end-to-end scenario. Like, then again, as discussed earlier, the mode of transport, the transportation lanes, what zone you are going to use, what is the direction, what is the route you are using, and what organization structure you are using. Like, it's a sales organization or a purchasing organization. Like, so which keys you are using, what is the order request type, what we discussed. Like, and in transportation, what is the condition for it, sale order integration, then freight unit configuration is one of the aspect. So these are the basic settings you have to do. You have to define a planning profile, and you have to define a capacity selection, how much utilization is there, half truckload or a full truckload. Then you optimize the planning in the transportation. Then you also integrate the planning cost and try to do a carrier selection. So these are the basic profiles you have to select before you actually do a transportation optimization. Okay, then which freight order type you are using. From there, how you are doing the planning, and then from the planning you will get you have to do some settings like calculation profile, settlement profile. There is a master data you have to consider, the scale, rate table, and the freight agreement. And then you will get output, like you will get a output for your this, like you will get a transportation management output. Like, these are the 10 trucks required for tomorrow's shipment for from one plant to another. So that kind of truck simulation, as well as the freight simulation, you can get. Like, so these are the basic things actually from my side on transportation management. So I'm done with the presentation. Actually, it is very high level, but a lot of SAP screens and many details at a micro level I can actually explain to you. But I'll show you one requirement gathering kind of 1 minute. So are you able to see the screen actually?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah. So this is actually, so when you get into a client place, so it is very difficult to get all this data. So what is it like? You first analyze what processes are involved. So you then you first identify what is the gap, where the standard process is not being used. What is the process they are using as of now? For example, planning and optimization for primary bulk kind of cylinders. There were two, three cylinders or different kinds of LPG cylinders being distributed by this company. So primary bulk is one kind of scenario. Then order management for the secondary cylinders. So you have to list down the business process. So the entire SAP or any kind of business works on the business process, and then from there you actually analyze and find out the micro level steps. What are the gaps? What is the severity? How is ECC able to handle or not? And then you have to then find the gap, and then the capability and the risk. Like, so that is how actually detail. So we also had listed down the deviation process name. What could be the deviation? What where we might need a customization. Like, so this is just I mean a template I'm showing. So many things like this come up when we are actually into a project. I'm talking from the project point of view as well as from transportation management implementation point of view, and that is how I'm trying to actually explain the concept here. So these two, three things I have sent, I've just shared. So just one more process I will just explain. Okay. Sale order. Okay. Okay. Fine. So there are other basic topics also. I mean, some miscellaneous topics. I'll just scroll these things like, I mean, so you get to know the destination, the source location, then what is the custom process involved. So many things our SAP transportation captures. These things don't come into standard SAP. You only get a transportation cost through development or customization. But our SAP TM will help you to get all this port and transportation and freight order calculations like. So there are different conditions and terms and conditions also can be captured here. You see general data validity, then the condition at a first level, second level. So these also you can capture in TM. Then so similar thing. Like that's it. Like so that is how, I mean, it is. I mean that is all on transportation management. Like. So charge management, I mean, this freight thing, just 2 slides here. We saw freight settlement. So the high level process is like this. You have a forwarding settlement document and freight settlement document. And you need to define a freight agreement with your service providers like DHL or any other transportation service provider. And then you have to have a transportation charge calculation sheet defined into this our SAP Transportation Management. And that helps you to actually get a charge rate table as a master data. And the first you do an agreement, freight agreement, you do a charge calculation, you convert it to a charge elements, and then do define a rate table within the system. So you need not every time when the vehicle is moving from one location to another or the destination to another, you get a charge or a freight calculation in the system in a simulated way also, but also at a real time when you are actually executing these transportation orders like. So that is the real value add for the business like. So that is how it looks like, calculation sheet, freight agreement, and that's it. Like, so that is what I had to explain. Sorry, I mean, I'm quite fast, and there are some screens, some micro level things, but a high level overview and a picture or a snapshot I had to present like. So that is how I've actually aligned this presentation like. Okay, and that's all from my side as of now.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think that's a great technical presentation. So, a general question on the whole. Yeah, excuse me. General question on S4 HANA. Like, are there any major changes, in the transition to S4 HANA?
Yes. So there are like so many things are added into TM. You can have a real-time visibility with integration with multiple systems and warehouse management. Also, yard dock management is what you have. Then you also have Fiori apps you can use for the transportation kind of visibility at your, I mean, on your Android phone. Okay, and there is actually one more. There are some real-time visibility enablers actually which are integrated with your earlier you had to do a lot of settings or configurations for this when the transportation server was different. Now all these are embedded. SAP TM is now embedded within S4 HANA. Earlier it used to be a separate box. So businesses now have both options of embedding TM in their HANA database, as well as you can keep it as a server as a separate box if you are not on SAP HANA like. So these are the two things as of now in the market. But TM, they have a robust and partial palettes and many scenarios which were not being handled earlier can be handled in this kind of, I mean, new version of TM like.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, thank you very much. We definitely want to touch base with in future for any synergies in the SAP area, because we work in SAP related projects and integrations.
Yeah, nice to know. So, I mean, I'm basically with some 15, 20 years of this SAP experience, MM and SD I had started with, and APO, and then landed into transportation management. And before that, a solid domain actually of 9 to 10 years. So let us see. I mean, a couple of projects I've done on TM as well as warehouse management.
Right. Actually, I mean, do you know the reason why? I mean, like across the multiple SAP customers that we see, not many of them have really implemented transportation management in its entirety. Do you know some of any of the reasons why?
So the logic here, so what happens is, see, people, I mean, so companies struggle to get onto the standard SAP modules at a first level. So if you are going for SAP, let us say HANA, you are implementing, or ECC you are implementing, standard modules of materials management and sales and distribution with integration with production planning. From there to integration, giving update to the finance and controlling. This itself is a big task, and the users are not so capable of doing all these transactions. And those companies who are actually are able to cope up with these standard kind of modules and transactions, they are actually more mature and would, I mean, they are going for this kind of APO and transportation and extended warehouse management kind of modules. And so that is where I can say that maturity level, or companies maturity level to handle current ERP or SAP is a major factor for a company to decide. So why, when a CEO or a CIO, when they actually approach, I mean, when the CIO approaches the CFO or a CEO, that boss, I'm looking for this transportation management module. So they always get a reply. I mean, the top management, owner always, or the chairman or the CEO always says, boss, you're not able to utilize 100% of SAP, standard SAP. And then why you should go for a higher end modules? So TM, is a high end module of within supply chain. So that is the reason. And those CEOs or companies who are mature, and those who really want to track these logistics costs. So for example, in 3PL or 3PL logistics, and where you have only transportation as a business, there they actually implement TM. And there they try to get onto the transportation management module. So another thing is, IT companies also are not so mature, who are not having, because they don't have people to sell their initial, I mean, the standard SAP module or a package itself, or they don't get the orders. And then how and where, from where they will try to sell transportation management? I'm talking from pre-sales and sales point of view. And if they get the order, then who will deliver? So that is also another area, from the, if you see from the other side of the desk. Both are a problem, not only the client or the company, because their maturity level is what I had told you earlier, and capability to run and manage this transportation module. Similarly, IT companies don't have that maturity also, as well as the capability actually to deliver and win the projects. First is to have an internal capability, pre-sales, as well as a solid resource, multiple, at least 3 4 resources to actually have this transportation warehouse management, APO, IBP kind of solution offering within the company. And then from there, to reach out to the market, do pre-sale sales, and actually win the deal itself is a challenge. And that is why, so when you are not capable, then what you will present actually to the client or the prospect? So prospect is always, very smart. I mean, the companies, they are having multiple IT service providers coming to their door actually, and then they know what is there. And then SAP itself, SAP account manager and SAP itself are always supporting them from other side. One mail to SAP account manager, yeah, they will say that this transportation module can help you in this way, but at this cost. And as compared to you, I mean, you presenting it and or not presenting it, or doing it halfway. So what happens is, you don't get the orders, or you might, I mean, the client might not get interested. So might not be interested to get onto the high end supply chain module. Like, so there are various factors and reasons actually. But this is a major reason. I mean, depends what business process or business they are running. If the if from the 100 rupees of sales of one product, if the transportation cost is 5 rupees, then the client will not be interested. So they don't, I mean, CFOs, and CEOs, they don't want to track this TM cost or freight cost, and they don't want real-time visibility. But if it is exactly, let us say 50% or 30 rupees of transportation cost is there, then yes, the CFO, CEO will definitely, they would like to implement this TM modules. And so many companies are having this TM, and in India, at least, many companies have started using implementing. So Colgate Palmolive is one of it, and Supergas is one of it. So they are implementing this because their entire business is on fleet management and transportation management and real-time visibility of these transportation lanes, transportation movements and goods movements. So if the business is on it, then they have to have this TM kind of tightly integrated and high visibility and high cost, not high cost, but at least robust kind of package. Like, so it integrates with your purchase, it integrates with your sales, it also integrates with your manufacturing. Like, so there actually then TM is preferred module for as over and above the standard modules. Like,
Sure. Thank you very, very much for the explanation. Yeah. Anybody else has any other questions? Yeah. Otherwise, I think, Julian, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for your time. I know it's went a little late. Sorry about that, but as we want to share as much we can with the community, we try to do that. Thank you for your time once again. So
thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the opportunity, and nice to connect. We'll see how it goes about forward. Also, I mean, we'll be there for any kind of supply chain topics.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, your expertise will definitely, be helpful to many. I'm pretty sure, and we'll get back to you. Okay, so I just wanted to remind our attendees audience, thank you for joining in with us, but we will be having these ZIPINARs every Wednesday, as I said, from 12 p.m. EST. And this week we are having our younger youth webinar on Friday, this Friday at 8:45 p.m. EST. And the topic they have chosen is inventions, famous inventors and inventions. And trust me, they choose their topic, they are passionate about it, and then only they do these webinars. They attend regular prep sessions, and then they present live. And for the older youth group, we have, which we go live on Saturday, 4 p.m. EST. Here this week, we will be, the youth will be talking about their creativity, what they have done in the past, what they are doing in the present, and what they plan to do in the future. So it will be very interesting, innovative, and I guess they are thinking more. And if you have any ideas, do connect with us. There are two ways of connecting. If you have a kid and you want to register, go to our website, letusrockit.com/youth, and enroll your kids and join our prep sessions. And if you are a professional speaker, you want to join as a speaker or as an attendee, you can do that as well. Or you can email us at webinar@letusrockit.com. With that, we end this session. Thank you everyone for joining in. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Jitanshu, can you stay back if you don't mind? Even if I after like just want to connect on a leadership question for 1 minute.
I'm here.
Okay.